Hey y'all, it's your girl Brandy Yvonne. Welcome back to the Brandy Yvonne channel. If you are viewing my channel for the very first time, please click that like button, share, and please also subscribe. I appreciate everyone's support. I've been getting a lot of support and I really appreciate it. So here on my channel, we do fun reviews, recaps, and discussions. So please comment in the comment section so we could talk about everything I'm going to discuss in tonight's video. So this review, of course, is for the Janet Jackson documentary that premiered last night and tonight, which was Friday and Saturday, on A&E and Lifetime Network. Okay, I really was excited for this documentary. I was really excited. I'm a huge Janet Jackson fan. I was born in the late 80s, grew up on Janet. I'm excited that she was able to tell her story from her point of view and her words and everything like that. So they started filming this back in 2017, which may feel like a long time ago from now. And so they've been filming since from 2017 all the way to 2020, it looked like, or maybe even this 2021, I'm assuming. So this goes throughout her life and career. So we are gonna try to go in order in this video, but if you've been watching my videos before, you know sometimes we like to jump around, but we plan to cover all the main points, okay? So again, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe, share, and comment. So let's get into it, okay? So of course, we start out with the very beginning, or for the big, beginning chunk of it, we talk about her growing up in Gary, Indiana. Her and Randy, her brother Randy, go back to the house where they grew up in. The order of the children, she explains, is like a girl, then 3 boys and a girl, then 3 boys and a girl. So it's Rebe Jackson, then I believe it's Jackie, Tito, Jermaine, then LaToya, then Marlon, Michael, Randy, then Janet. I believe that's how it went. I might have got the boys switched around, but that's just the gist of it. So Janet was the youngest. I think she was like a baby or like 2 years old by the time they have moved from Gary, Indiana to California to the LA area. So she doesn't remember that much living in Gary, Indiana as much as she remembers growing up in LA. So back in the house in Gary, Indiana, Randy is telling her like, oh yeah, you used to sleep right here. And they only had like a 2-bedroom house with 9 kids. I'm like, hats off to that family, because that just, the level of discomfort in my mind with all those people in that house, I couldn't do it. But I mean, if you had to grow up doing it, you had to, right? So they talk about that. Talk about how Joe Jackson was very hardworking and he was very hard on the kids. And the nice thing I did like about the movie is that even though, of course, Joe Jackson had his faults and maybe some of his methods weren't the best and maybe he wasn't the greatest person at all times, he definitely had a means to an end. And I feel like Janet did a great job of saying like, yeah, my dad was hard on me. Yeah, I didn't agree with everything he did, but if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't have this career. And I think everyone who comes to those kind of family backgrounds of entertainment, like the Jacksons and other big families where the parents were the ones really pushing them and motivating them, yeah, there's probably some, trauma and hardships there that they need to deal with now, but their parents are the one, like if it wasn't for their parents, they wouldn't have the big, massive careers that they have. So, after, they visit the house in Gary, Indiana, it kind of still has some of the same, I'm thinking they kept the house the same in Gary, Indiana. Like, I think it's like a place people can visit now, if I'm not mistaken. Then they show how they moved to Encino, and they were like the first Black people in the neighborhood, and people were calling them the N-word, and they would have all these big parties, and everybody would come, like Diana Ross and Berry Gordy, and all the people from Motown. And so Janet, when she first actually started performing with the family, she was about 7 years old. So she started doing the Vegas show with them. And she remembers growing up, even when she was really little, seeing them in the studio and rehearsing in the house and everything like that. And she always wanted to be in the mix. And she did say that nobody asked her to be in the show. They just put her in the show, which is very interesting. So I do remember, of course, I wasn't born when they were performing in Vegas, but I remember seeing clips of them performing in Vegas. I didn't realize the whole family performed, like even LaToya and Rebe though. So that was interesting to see. But I do remember seeing clips of Janet when she was real little performing with them. And so they were the only family with kids to have a show in Vegas at that time, which was huge. And so then they show her on Good Times, which had me all hyped about Good Times. So I started singing the theme song, Good Times, anytime you need a payment. But anyway, me and my sister love the theme song. We have a whole routine, rehearse for that. But anyway, I digress. So, you know, she played Penny on Good Times, and she's an abused child and everything like that. And so that's really where her acting career began. And she was a really good actress, as well as she did some acting in the Vegas show as well. So then fast forward, she had played around humming like a melody and laid down like a track in the studio in the house, and she left it there. She meant to erase it. So then the dad, Joe, and I think Michael heard it also. And they really were like, this is really good, you should sing. So Janet wasn't really sure about singing like that. And then Joe was like, no, you are going to sing. And, you know, this time Janet's like a teenager. She's like, oh no, she wanted to go to college. She wanted to get a degree in business, law, business management or something. And he's like, well, that's not going to happen because you are going to sing. So Joe Jackson, of course, becomes her manager, like he was the Jackson 5 and Michael's manager, and became in charge of her career and everything like that. So they put out a couple albums together. The albums didn't do that well. They never got Janet's opinion on like anything regarding the video. The dad picked the album cover, everything. She didn't get to do any writing, producing, anything. So it wasn't her voice. Another cool thing we saw was Janet Jackson was on Fame. I didn't know that as well. So that was really cool, and seeing Debbie Allen and all that. And so again, Janet Jackson was a great in that role as well. At that time, so right before, I believe like right before she started Fame, she was feeling like, man, I don't really have my own voice in this music career. You know, her dad is making all the decisions. So in her mind, the only way she felt to be able to take some control of her life and make her own decisions was to get married. So she had been seeing James DeBarge at the time, and the DeBarges were also a big musical family at that time as well. So LaToya, one of the DeBarges was really fond of LaToya, so that's how they all became friends. And then Janet and James started talking on the phone, and they kind of grew up as friends before they started dating. So I'm assuming it's Bobby who liked LaToya, if I'm not mistaken. Comment below if I'm wrong, or to confirm that, but I'm pretty sure it was Bobby and LaToya that had a thing going on. So, so anyway, then we see Janet and James, you know, they're having this romance. Everybody doesn't really want them to be together like that. And they got married. So they were in, I believe it was Minnesota. Yeah, that's where the DeBarges are from. And they got married. It was their wedding night. Or no, it was Grand Rapids, Michigan, I believe. Sorry. And so their wedding night, James leaves for like 4 hours because he doing drugs, y'all. Okay. So the DeBarges, they've always had issues with drugs over the years. They've always had some demons to work through. I felt bad for their family over the years because of that. So anyway, so she was married to him for like barely a year, I believe. And she had to deal with his drug abuse. She would be looking for him all through the wee hours of the night, and just had to deal with all these issues. She was going to Fame late. She didn't care. She was dealing with her issues with James and all that. So then the marriage broke up. They got annulled after like a year. Then we have all these rumors come out about her having a baby with James DeBarge, but there's never a baby produced. And this is a long-standing Janet Jackson rumor. Like, this rumor has been around, like, you know, obviously since the 80s. So when it happened. So I'm just like, if this is true, where are the doctors and the nurses who delivered that baby? Because they could say, yeah, I delivered a baby for Janet Jackson. Like, there's no proof there. So it's always been this alleged secret baby. They said Rebe was raising a baby. Then they said it was one of Jermaine's kids. They said it was one of Tito's kids because they look just like Janet. And I'm just like, I don't believe there's a baby either. I don't believe. And Janet cleared it up in a documentary. She's like, I would never hide a baby from James. Like, she wouldn't do that. So, and James did speak in the documentary as well, which was cool. But I don't think there's a baby out there. I know everyone, a lot of people who were around at that time claimed there was a baby, but I'm just like, show us the true receipts that there's a baby, please. So, and at this point, this would have been cleared up, I feel like, but that's just my opinion. Y'all let me know what you think in the comments, okay? So then Janet decides to take even more control of her career. She hooks up with Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis, who used to open up for Prince because they were in the group with the time. If you've seen The Color Purple and you've followed Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis, you know the whole story on that. So anyway, they're hot producers, and they produced her album Control, of course. And, you know, they really had to work with Janet to get her out of her shell. Paula Abdul, who used to choreograph for the Lakers, I believe. She's a choreographer. A lot of you guys know her from American Idol, but back in the day, she was a choreographer. And she did a couple songs too. So anyway, she choreographed Janet Jackson at that time and also had to help bring her out of her shell because Janet was really shy and everything like that. So the Control album is the album that like really put Janet Jackson on the map. Like, that was the album that catapulted her career. That album is iconic, okay? Every time I actually think of Janet Jackson, I think of the song Control, and the first line of the song comes in my head. Like, every time I think of Janet Jackson, I always say, when I was 17, I did what people told me. Like, every time I think Janet Jackson, that's what comes in my mind. If y'all didn't like my singing, I'm sorry, okay? I'm just hyped about Janet. Miss Jackson, if you're nasty. So anyway, Nasty, I think, is on that album. Miss You Much. So that album does super well, sells millions. And I believe right before Control is when she had to fire her dad from being her manager and all that. But the lady who, I couldn't remember the lady's name, she had the purple twist in her hair though, that used to work for Joe in his management office, said to go with Janet, like, give you permission to go work with Janet, so, and watch over Janet. So, you know, she left her dad, did Control, and then they did another EP together, Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis and Janet, which was the Rhythm Nation. And in Rhythm Nation, she's talking about racial issues and all that stuff. We all know Rhythm Nation and the hat and the iconic, once again, iconic, okay? So then some time goes on. I believe at this point, she ends up signing to a new record label. And before she puts out an album, she does the movie Poetic Justice with Tupac and Regina King, which is another classic, iconic movie. Her music for the movie got nominated for an Oscar. And then at some point, Renee comes. I was so through with Renee. I forgot about Renee. So when I watched the documentary, I'm like, oh, I forgot she was married to that guy named Renee. And I didn't realize they were married for 9 freaking years. Renee got on my nerves. He got on my nerves. So like in the beginning, I'm like, okay, I see how they have these creative juices flowing. Like, he seemed to be a safe space for her in the very beginning. And he was a director and he would help her on the video shoots. And they all went to Hawaii together, but then he wouldn't put the camera down. And this was around the time also she started getting more sexy and all that stuff. And so they showed Tish, who was her choreographer in like the early 90s, and Tish and the other girl and Renee and Janet went to Hawaii. Renee got the camera out the whole time. They go visit her mom. He won't put the camera down. She's like, get the camera out of my mom's face. Like, I'm just like, please put the camera down, Renee, please. Like, I was through with him. And so basically by the end of their 9-year marriage, like, you could tell, like, everybody was saying he kind of was controlling. Like, they were good together, especially creative, you know, as long as it lasted. But then it definitely, I think, felt like maybe he was kind of riding her coattails or trying to control aspects of her career. It just got weird. It just got weird. And I was glad he went on about himself, because it was like, no, bye, Renee, bye. Also, while she was dating Renee, was the famous, I should say, Rolling Stone cover where the hands are on her boobs. That, I forgot all about that cover too. That was super hot. Like, that was such a big thing at that time. That cover is still iconic to this day. And so that's around the time where we see Janet get more sexy, okay? This is the 90s, you know, then we're doing That's the Way Love Goes and I Get So Lonely. That was my song. So anyway, then we move on, and then we get, Janet gets, you know, she gets rid of Renee. We're getting more like to the late 90s, early 2000s. Do All For You. All For You takes me back to middle school, y'all. That was my song. So anyway, then she meets Jermaine Dupri around this time, I believe. They started dating. I feel like her and Jermaine, even though Jermaine Dupri is not the easiest on the eyes, I did feel like they were a good couple at that time. I remember at the time we were like, oh, I remember back then everybody's like, oh, Janet Jackson dated Jermaine Dupri, but they actually made a cool couple, I think, overall. And then we see her do, they didn't mention Nutty Professor, none of that. They also talked about how Michael Jackson's drama in the press with all of his allegations was hurting her. And before that, they were talking about how she had to really come out of his shadow. Like, every time she would do interviews and everything, people were always asking her about Michael Jackson. And I was like, dang, that really sucked. Like, to have to live in, like, Michael Jackson is huge. Like, there's no icon bigger to this day right now in that we would know than Michael Jackson. So that is huge. But I feel like she's made her own name for herself now, and that she's up there with him, not in the same kind of way, but she's definitely made her own lane, her own name, and she's an icon in her own right. Before we get to the Jermaine Dupri and all that, I do want to go back to her, after Michael paid the family off, got the charges dropped, they did that video Scream together. And so they wrote together, and then they filmed the video. The video is like the most expensive videos ever made. Spent like $7 million. And it was very interesting that she said that the record label wouldn't let her film the video when he was there. Like, they would block it off, like almost like they didn't want her there at the same time. And it was just really weird. Like, they tried to make it really competitive. And then also another thing that was interesting on top of that with the whole Michael stuff was just when she started to feel that shift in her and Michael's relationship, and she felt like the record labels were keeping him away from everybody, especially when they had all met at his house in the theater room, and they were talking about going on a tour. And she's like, I'd be honored and humbled to open up for you guys if you want to, the brothers go back on tour together. And at this time, Janet was super famous when she's offering this. Like, this wasn't her early career. And he just kind of didn't say anything. And, you know, Janet was kind of like, dang, like, what's up with him? And I feel like whatever powers that be in the industry and the record labels, whatever, who were handling Michael and dealing with Michael, really, I don't know. I feel like, I don't know if it was the level of fame or the people around him just really kind of put a wedge between him and the family, or him and Janet. I don't know. I feel like Janet remained a little bit more grounded, and I almost want to say humble, but I don't want to say Michael Jackson wasn't humble. I think Michael Jackson was just so big. It's just such a big, and was, especially at that time, such a huge icon. Like, people would cry at his concert that it was like something bigger than himself. Like, I don't know, it's hard to explain, but it kind of just sucks how all that fame in their whole family really changed their family dynamics. Like, I couldn't even imagine that. I mean, I imagine it was nice that, you know, they brought their family out of poverty with all their success, but then you look at all the fame and the money and how that changes people. I'm just looking at those negative effects, and I feel like Janet kind of touched on them. So anyway, they did Scream. Scream was my song back in the day too, growing up. And so let's get back. Let's see. early 2000s. I don't think I missed anything so far. So early 2000s, that she meets Jermaine Dupri. They're dating. He's like an up and coming producer at this time. So early 2000s, Jermaine Dupri's career starts kind of popping off because, you know, he's producing Bow Wow and everybody at that time. So his career's just started to take off. Her career was already solidified. Then we get to the Super Bowl, 2004. Okay, so they're going to the Super Bowl. It's really big. It's hyped. Oh, before I get to the Super Bowl, Janet Jackson got her star on the Walk of Hollywood star on the Walk of Fame. I think it was like early mid 90s she did that. So anyway, back to the Super Bowl, back to 2004. So everybody knows when Justin Timberlake, Janet Jackson performed at the Super Bowl, and Justin Timberlake performed with her. And at this time, Justin Timberlake's a huge solo star, and the whole wardrobe malfunction. Justin pulls off something and exposes Janet's nipple. They said Janet was backstage crying at that time, which I didn't know that. And everybody is in a uproar. Like CBS is like canceling Janet and didn't let her come to the Grammys. And people were, you know, getting the law involved and saying that, you know, they're sexualizing this family show, the Super Bowl, and we need to take action to stop celebrities from doing this. I mean, they railroaded this girl. They demonized her. They punished her. They were so freaking hard on Janet Jackson in 2004. So hard on her for a freaking nipple. And it was an accident. Like, when I'm watching it, I'm getting triggered and mad. And there goes our word. Triggered, like, why were they so mad? And I feel like, again, the powers that be, the higher ups, the, you know, people who are always in charge, I feel like they had something against, I don't know, I may not be a little conspiracy, but little conspiracy theorist or something, but I feel like they had something against the Jackson family, and that was a way to stick it to them, because that was not that bad, even for 2004. I know 2004 and 2022 are completely two different times now. Like, I totally recognize that, but even for 2004, that little nipple was not that deep. Like, it was not that serious for them to do all that. And Jermaine Dupri sat on the board of the Grammys at that time, and he like stepped down because they had disinvited Janet from the Grammys that year. Like, it was not that serious, Grammy people, Super Bowl people. It was not. Like, come on. Like, they show way more and way worse now. Like, I know it's 2022, so it's different, but still, like, even 2004, they was doing way more. Like, come on. Like, I just got mad about that all over again. And it's very interesting that Janet said that Justin called her right after, and they only really had one conversation. And she said, and he was like, oh, should I make a statement? Like, I don't know, I feel bad. And she was like, look, like, they're really coming after me. They're not really saying much to you. Like, if I were you, I wouldn't do anything. Like, I would just keep going about my business. So she kind of protected him, as Black women do, always protecting others, not looking out for themselves. And they, like, tried to ruin Janet's career at that time. Like, that was so crazy. So then we see Tyler Perry talking about why he cast her in the role for Why Did I Get Married, and how he visioned her playing the role of Patty that she played. And he was also like, come on, people, it's just a nipple. It's not that serious. Like, get over it. And so nobody wanted to work with her at the time, but of course Tyler Perry did. And so, of course, she went on to do Why Did I Get Married 2 also, where she was breaking up that glass in that house. That is like one of my favorite scenes. And at the time she was doing Why Did I Get Married 2 is the time Michael Jackson died, like while they were shooting that movie. And I remember seeing a Janet interview where she said, it was after her brother's death when she did the scene breaking up the house. So when she was doing that scene, she was able to let out all her energy and emotion from dealing with everything with her brother dying by breaking up that glass. So anyway, I believe before she did, way before she did Why Did I Get Married Too, her and Jermaine Dupri broke up. They were engaged. They broke up because Jermaine Dupri had been cheating on her. Also, he wasn't providing enough time with her. He was very busy. He would work all day, didn't go to the club. Like, she felt like he wasn't giving her everything she needed. But he also said that, Jermaine Dupri said that women would, this was kind of crazy to me, y'all. He said women would try to get at him even more because they knew he was dating Janet Jackson. Now, I'm sure there are a lot of women who had that mentality at that time. I don't put it past them. But that ain't the reason you need to be cheating. Like, you need to have some self-control, sir. Like, you dating Janet Jackson. Also, that was not news for me. I know a lot of people were shocked to see that Jermaine Dupri cheated on Janet Jackson, but I don't know why y'all are shocked. That is not news. We've always known that. Since 2006, 7, 8, we've known that. I don't remember what show it was. I want to say it was Behind the Music or something, but it was some kind of documentary about Usher, and they were talking about confessions. And so everybody assumed that it was Usher cheated on Chili, even though he eventually did or whatever. But Jermaine Dupri said in whatever documentary this was that actually they wrote that song because he had cheated on Janet Jackson. That's what Jermaine Dupri did. So that's where Confessions comes from. So that's why I didn't know why everybody was shocked on social media and giving Jermaine Dupri a hard time, because we already knew that he cheated on her. And I believe he got someone pregnant. That's where Confessions came from. I want to say it was Behind the Music. I'm going to look it up, but we've already discussed this, y'all. So that was not news to me. So anyway, but it's still stupid. Like, why you going to cheat on Janet? But Jay-Z cheated on Beyonce, so none of us, it's a reflection of the men, y'all. It ain't a reflection of us ladies. So anyway, then the documentary goes on to... So they talk about the Jermaine Dupri stuff. They talk about Michael Jackson dying, which was sad. Oh, it broke my heart when they talked to Catherine, Mama Jackson, and she asked her, how do you feel about talking about Michael's death? If you can't handle it, don't do it. She said she can't do it. I was like, oh my gosh, like, I can't imagine losing a child. That is so sad, so sad. And so then she talks about, then they talk about how her career went on. She fought through all the craziness with everything that happened at the Super Bowl. She continued to make more music. She's touring. She still came out on top, y'all. And the Super Bowl, CBS, the Grammys, all y'all owe Janet apology letters. I'm talking public apology letters. And Justin too, okay? And we know Justin's apologized. He asked her to come to the Super Bowl with her again. I think a couple years ago or so, I don't remember, but she was like, nah, she good off the Super Bowl. And I don't blame her. That was just wrong. Excuse me. So anyway, then we see, she's still making her music and all that. Then Joe Jackson passed away. So they're like getting us caught up to current times now. So Joe Jackson has passed away. I want to say that was 2018 or 19. He passed away. I'm not sure though. And so he passed away in Vegas. He had cancer. And then we see, of course, Janet was on tour, but then she was about to go on tour. She had to postpone her tour because she had her baby, her son. They did not talk about the husband. And I don't think they're married anymore, right? They're divorced, but still, like, she did not mention how she met him, she just said she had a baby. Like, girl, tell us how you got the baby. I mean, we know how he was made, but dang, like, girl, you had got married and everything. Like, come on. But I don't know. I know, she marry like a Middle Eastern guy, and I think he had a lot of money, so maybe she couldn't talk about it. I don't know. But that was just kind of weird to skip over her baby daddy like that. But anyway, then they show her getting inducted to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and Janelle Monáe was the one to induct her. And of course, she's like, I want that to be in my Wikipedia page forever. I don't blame her. She was the perfect person to do it. Throughout the documentary, they show different people like Tiana Taylor, Samuel Jackson, Missy Elliott, and they're just talking about, her impact in the music career and everything, and her trend setting and everything like that. I mean, they had a lot of people commentating on her, so that was really, really cool. talked, showing how she had that baby at like 50. I think she said she was 50 or 51 when she had that baby, which is a miracle. And she said she went to doctors all over the world. She just kept trying, getting injections, whatever she had to do. So that is a miracle. Gives us ladies hopes, although we don't have the money for the medicine she got. But, it can, miracles happen. And she has her healthy baby boy. She's so happy to be a mom. I believe his name is Issa. And so they're showing him on a tour bus with her, but they didn't show his face, of course. And then we see, I believe it was Questlove was talking about how we have social media now and everyone has, campaigned for Janet about the whole. So now that we have we have social media, back then, social media in 2004 was not a thing. In 2004, we only had MySpace, I believe, in 2004. Yeah, did we have MySpace in 2004? If we had anything in 2004, it was only MySpace. And then they had like AOL Mail and stuff like that. But we didn't have, the Facebook, the Twitter. Oh my God, not even close. Facebook, please. So, nothing. So, now we have social media and all these issues from back then, like the Super Bowl thing has been brought up, and we, obviously Black Twitter and everybody on the internet has sought justice for Janet when it came to the Super Bowl. We not really checking for Justin like we used to. It is what it is. Janet deserves justice for Janet. But I feel like she has been totally vindicated, and she's still cool with Justin. She has no ill will, so she's all good. 6 months after having her baby, she went back on tour because she's Janet. Okay, that's what she do. She got inducted to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 2020, I want to believe, or 2019. And then they also, she talked about I'm not sure she's going back on tour or not. I was unclear about that. I was like, I hope she's not doing a Tina and doing a documentary and sitting down and being done. I think she's going to go back on tour, and I really hope she does. But if she doesn't, she don't have to, right? But it'd be nice if she did, because I would love to see her before she calls it quits. Couple things that were missing from the documentary that I was like, what's going on here? Besides her baby daddy, what about Bobby Brown? Because in Bobby Brown's movie that came on BET, he showed that he had a relationship with Janet. So I'm like, girl, you did not mention Bobby Brown at all. Like, what happened here? But Bobby Brown about to get his own movie, so he gonna just tell it for her, I guess. Since he's about to get a whole documentary on A&E also, which is going to be good, even though he's told his story on BET already. But it would be good to get the big full picture like we got with Janet. Also, there was no LaToya. There was no Marlon was not there. I don't think Jackie was there. I know they showed Jermaine. Randy was there quite a bit. They showed Rebbie quite a bit. They showed Tito. They did not show, I don't think they showed Jackie. I do not remember them showing their brother Jackie. They did not show Marlon. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments. They did not show Marlon. She would mention LaToya when LaToya was relevant to a story, but LaToya was not present. And then I looked on LaToya's Twitter to see if LaToya was even talking about it, and LaToya was not talking about the documentary. So I was like, oh, okay. What's the tea there, right? They didn't talk about the Nutty Professor, which is fine, I guess. Yeah, I mean, I think we covered everything. Let me know in the comments if I missed something. I just wanted to get the gist. Y'all know how I do. So, yeah, I think the documentary was really good. It was really well done. I feel like it humanized her even more for me. I feel like Janet just wants to be a normal woman, and she had to go through all these things in the public eye, like when she said the things she went through with James and his drug addiction, and she was innocent, and she didn't know about all these things. She didn't even understand that type of lifestyle. And when the whole nipple thing came out, her issue, how the family felt, and when she did the Rolling Stone cover with the boobs, and how the family felt about that, because they were raised a certain way. They were really raised in a more strict household, and I think a more religious household as well. And their father was hard on them, and they didn't get that much of a childhood. They said when they got to have fun and do childhood things, it was like really great because they didn't get those moments a lot because they had to always work, and it was hard and everything they went through. But you know, it made them the mega stars that they are. And Janet is an icon. She's the youngest of the Jacksons. She was constantly compared to Michael, but like I said, I feel like now people should not still be comparing her to Michael. Like, Michael and Janet are two separate things. They just are siblings, but she's an icon in her own right, and of course he's a mega star in his own right. Like, I feel like you can't compare them. Janet had the dance moves. She had so many iconic looks. Speaking of iconic looks, another thing I didn't like, let me just go back to Renee real quick. Another thing I didn't like about that Renee, towards the end of their relationship, they were falling apart there, she was mentioning how he would be trying to control how she dressed and calling her, implying that she was heavier. And, you know, we've seen Janet battle with her weight over the years, up and down. And we all battle with our weight. Like, Janet always looks good, especially when she be dancing. Her body is, like, amazing. Like, don't do Janet. I think she's a short woman, though. I don't think she's that tall. She looked like, every time I see her hug somebody, she looked like she was really shorter than them. So, yeah, I didn't like, and then he was telling her, like, oh, you need to, when you're out and about, you need to look like you look in your videos. Like, she don't need to look like that all the time, Renee. Like, stop it. I just didn't like Renee. I just wasn't here for Renee at all. And I'm sure back then a lot of people were not here for Renee at all. But anyway, yeah. And another thing, speaking of her weight, she said her and Michael, you know, they would tease each other as siblings do. And he would call her names like cow, pig, horse. And she did take it jokingly, but at the same time, she said it did cause her pain. And I think that's because like she said, she was battling with her weight. And I don't think Michael meant anything by it. But, you know, if it hurt her, we can't take away her feelings from that, of course. And that sucks. And hopefully she can work through those issues. But Janet, you are a beautiful girl. It don't matter what your body, your size is looking like. You are beautiful. You have danced enough shows and did everything. You don't need to worry about what nobody says at this point, girl. Like, I just think I love her heart, her spirit, her as a person, her talent, her dancing. She just has so many culturally iconic moments in her career. So anyway, hopefully if you watch this video, you are a Janet Jackson fan like me, or you probably won't enjoy this video. But anyway, I'm going to get out of here, y'all. It is late. I need to go to bed. Comment, like, subscribe, and share. Let me know what you all thought of the documentary. And we will talk soon. Bye.